International Aerospace Manufacturing Private Limited is a joint venture between Rolls-Royce and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which makes components for Rolls-Royce's Trent family of civil aero engines. Established in 2010, IAMPL is spread over an area of 7,200 square meters and employs 275 highly skilled people equipped with the latest Rolls-Royce manufacturing technology. The facility was purposefully built, which combined with the use of latest machining centers, CMMs, metal spray, NDT lines heat treatment. IAMPL, a globally competitive preferred vendor to its customers.
We also have backward integration support from our partner HAL in the form of supporting forging supplies, which is 3 kilometers behind our facility. This is uniquely placed in terms of competitive advantage, that is, our development lead times are very short.
We also have our own engineering expertise to design best-in-class processes,
and there are no transit times involved in getting the forging like from any other part of the world.
Located in Bangalore, IAMPL is a fully accredited benchmark manufacturing facility operating with the latest technologies to the highest levels of aerospace compliance.
The technical team at IAMPL is focused on delivering best-in-class manufacturing capability and a zero-defect quality assurance to our customer. We have a unique manufacturing capability of machining and special process integrated under a single roof. The industrial engineering team, also part of the methods and manufacturing engineers, are focused on reducing the defects and improving on the right first time in the factory.
IAMPL will succeed doing variety of components for Rolls-Royce and HAL.
Because of Rolls-Royce production system, we have improved our business performance on all the area like safety, quality, cost, delivery and the people areas with best performance.
Our vision is to be consistently recognized by our customers, employees, investors and the community as a leader and company of choice. We have a clear understanding of the value system that guides us to reach our vision in the right way. Our values are integrity, accountability, make things happen, work with passion while continue to listen to improve from all stakeholders.
Welcome to the 43rd Annual General Meeting of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. The Apex Chamber of Industry and Commerce represents large and medium industries in the state of Karnataka, comprising of 7 state members entities. Once again, may I request you all to kindly mute your systems so that we have a very seamless interaction of the AGM. The theme of our current year is Namma Karnataka, the gateway to future India. On behalf of the Chamber, I would like to introduce our office bearers and the immediate past president. Shri Devesh Agarwal, who is president of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, managing director of Jason's Technology Private Limited. Shri T.R. Parasuraman, who is the incoming president of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the president and whole-time director, Toyota Industries India. We also have with us Shri K.R. Shekhar, who is the Senior Vice President of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce and partner Deloitte Haskins and Sells LLP. May I also introduce Shri Kishore Alva, the immediate past president of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the president and executive director of the Adani Utpi Power Corporation Limited. May I now also specially mention the main dignitaries who are with us for today's special session. We have Shri Jagdish Shettar, who is the Honorable Minister of Large and Medium Scale Industries, Government of Karnataka. We have with us Shri Vikram Kirloskar, who is the CMD of Kirloskar Systems Limited, Vice Chairman Toyota Kirloskar Motor Limited. Shri Vikram Kirloskar is also the immediate past president of the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII. Our guest of honor also with us, Shri Gaurav Gupta IAS, is the Principal Secretary to Government, Commerce and Industry Department, Government of Karnataka. We also have with us quite a few dignitaries today on this occasion, a very historic milestone for our chamber, the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Before we move forward and run through the agenda of the day, let me quickly take you through the event's highlights. Well, we have the release of 3 reports which will be done on today being a very momentous occasion. These are reports by the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the Apex Chamber, talking about investment in Karnataka, hopefully a new incoming airport, and also a very special report created by Mr. K.R. Shekhar, who is the Senior Vice President of BCIC, called the Atma Nirbal Analysis. After that, we will also have, the reports being presented and addressed by the chief guest, the guest of honor, and the special guest of the evening. We will also have a felicitation session followed by a very quick session on any questions and answers that you may have with regards to anything dealing with, the Bangalore Chamber of Commerce, and then we will have the concluding remarks by the incoming president. May I now request that it's very important to put any program together that we acknowledge the people and the companies, the associations, and the organizations who are behind us all and who are behind our success. And for this reason, we would like to have this opportunity to thank our sponsors who have stood by us during this historical turning point. I would like to start with our principal sponsors. We have JSW Steel Limited, we have Wipro Limited, Toyota Kirloskar Motors Private Limited, Toyota Kirloskar Auto Parts Private Limited, Toyota Engines India Private Limited, Deloitte, HDFC Life, and Kotak Bank. We also have our co-sponsors who have also played a very integral role in making this possible. We have Tissol Semiconductor Private Limited, we have Dynamatic Technologies Limited, Fundamax India Private Limited, Grasim Industries Limited, International Aerospace Manufacturing Private Limited, Axon Consulting Services Private Limited, Singvi Dev and Unni LLP, Makino India Private Limited, Relicare Tech Services Private Limited, HDFC Limited, and most importantly, we have the RV College of Engineering, who have, so overwhelmingly come up and given us their WebEx platform, with a special thanks to Dr. Subramania and his team for his manpower and inputs to make today really special. We now request you all to kindly join us in singing along with the Karnataka Nada Gite. Just to give you brief insights for all of those who are looking and viewing us from out of Karnataka, here are small insights on what the Nada Gite, the Karnataka Nada Gite, is all about. It says, "Victory to Mother Karnataka, the daughter of Mother India." And this is a poem composed by a very famous Indian national poet, Kuvempu. Does the poet ring a bell somewhere? Well, the poem was declared the state song of the Indian state of Karnataka on the 6th of January 2004. So something to take back home to your friends and family today. May I now request that the Karnataka Nada Gite be played and all of us join us in singing together.
ಮಕುಟದ ನವಮಣಿಯೇ ಗಂಧದ ಚಂದದ ಹೊನ್ನಿನ ಗಣಿಯೇ ರಾಘವ ಮಧುಸೂದನರವತರಿಸಿದ ಭಾರತ ಜನನಿಯ ತನುಜಾತೆ ಜಯ ಹೇ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮಾತೆ ಜೋಗುಳ ವೇಗದ ಘೋಷ ಜಗನಿಗೆ ಜೀವವು ನಿನ್ನಾವೇಶ ಹಸುರಿನ ಗಿರಿಗಳ ಸಾರೆ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಕೊರಳಿನ ಮಾಲೆ ಕಪಿಲ ಪತಂಜಲ ಗೌತಮ ಜಿನಗುತ ಭಾರತ ಜನನಿಯ ತನುಜಾತೆ ಜಯ ಹೇ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮಾತೆ विद्यारण्य बसवेश्वर मध्वर दिव्यारण्य ब्रह्मषडक्षरि पुन्ना कंपल कुविपति जन्ना कुमार व्यासव मंगल धाम कवितो विजयगण पुण्य राम नानक रामानंद कबीरर भारत जननिय तनुजाते जय हे कर्नाटक माते ಹೊಯ್ಸಳರಾಳಿದ ನಾಡೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ಜಗಣರ ನಚ್ಚಿನ ಬೀಡೆ ಶರಾವತಿ ಕುಂಡ ಕಾವೇರಿಯವರ ರಂಗ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಪರಮಹಂಸ ವಿವೇಕನ ಭಾರತ ಜನನಿಯ ತನುಜಾತೆ ಜಯ ಹೇ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮಾತೆ
the daughter of Mother India. Thank you for joining us for the beautiful song dedicated to Karnataka, Karnataka Nada Gite. We now declare the meeting and this official AGM open. We will now quickly run through a few etiquettes that we will try to follow during this meeting. May I request that we have the etiquette slide being presented so that all of us can quickly look at the screen and also ensure full cooperation amongst the participants. For all those who are on their headphones driving, I will also read the instructions in short. Except the secretary, moderator, office bearers, and guest of honor, everyone is muted on arrival and during the proceedings. Please keep your mobiles in silent or a vibration mode. Please keep your mic and audio muted at all times to improve the bandwidth. In the question and answer session for 15 minutes, you may raise questions by typing on the chat box only on matters pertaining to government, economy, industry only. No other questions shall be entertained. Please also type to whom you would like your questions to be directed, or else it shall be replied to by the moderator. Request: do not type any negative news as the session is being recorded. We have made several test runs by the best-in-class technology, but there is a minor chance of technology disruptions, and you are requested to be patient as we request your cooperation. Thank you once again for your cooperation and understanding. Welcome back everyone to the session, and I hope you have followed the guidelines that have been on the screen. We now move to the formal part of the event, where we will request our incoming president of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Shri T.R. Parasuraman, to deliver the opening remarks. Shri T.R. Parasuraman, as you all must be knowing, is also the president and full-time director of Toyota Industries Indian India Private Limited. He has been very active in the corporate world and also quite well known in industry circles, with senior roles ranging from industry bodies like the CII, the Karnataka State Council, the Karnataka Manufacturing Task Force, the National Prototyping Society of India, the Quality Circle Forum of India, also Toyota Motors Global Learning Center in Japan, and more. He has been really instrumental in bringing about positive change. Mr. T.R. Parasuraman also holds a BE Mechanical from Madras University, MS in Technology Operations from BITS Pilani, Management Program from IIM Bangalore, a certification on Gemba Kaizen from JIPM, and the Leaders Development Program at Toyota Motors Global Learning Center in Japan. May I now request Mr. Parasuraman to address the gathering and deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you, Samira. Very good evening to all of you. I deem it a great pleasure and privilege to extend a very, very hearty welcome to our Honorable Minister, Sri Jagadish Shettar, the Minister for Large and Medium Scale Industries, Government of Karnataka, Sri Vikram Kirloskar, Chairman and Managing Director of Kirloskar Systems Limited and Vice Chairman of Toyota Kirloskar Motor and immediate past President of CII, Sri Gaurav Gupta, Principal Secretary, Industry and Commerce, Government of Karnataka, Mr. Romal Shetty, President, Consulting, Deloitte, India, Sri Devesh Agarwal, President, Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Sri K.R. Shekhar, Senior Vice President, Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, captains of the industry, members of the BCIC, friends from print and media, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, these meetings, we used to have it in the big ballrooms with a lot of pomp and splendor. But we're just trying to do this time through a webinar. But I think it's a great learning opportunity for all of us. In fact, never in our lifetimes we have come across this kind of a crisis. And for most of us, it is the first time in our lives. But while there has been a huge crisis, but this COVID has taught us many, many lessons. And it has been a very great learning opportunity. In fact, for the first time in our lives, especially in the manufacturing industries, we learned how to work from home. In fact, as rightly said by Mr. Vikram Kirloskar earlier in the chatting, he said, Genji Gembutsu is normally a Toyota parlance. We go to a point of action using all our 5 plus 6 senses. We try to understand the problem. I think that is the way of life for all the manufacturing people. But today we learned how to work from home. I think that's been a great learning for us. And innovation and creativity, I think it is coming at the peak. Somebody said necessity is the mother of invention. Therefore, we try to learn new jobs when we are forced to swim, even if you don't know swimming. And I think the digital transformation, be it any industry, the e-commerce or manufacturing or any kind of service sector, I think has taken a huge leap. And I would say it has advanced by at least 10 years in its evolution. So all these new learnings have taken shape. And during this COVID crisis, I have to say that we worked very closely hand in hand with the government of Karnataka. In fact, we had several meetings with the Honorable Minister. I think every time we talked to him, we called him, immediately he gave us the appointment. And I would say at least 6 or 7 times we met him. And he was a tremendous support, equally with Mr. Gaurav Gupta, Mrs. Gunjan Krishna. I think the entire department gave a fantastic support. I have to really thank from the chambers, and especially the MSMEs are struggling to make a survival. And I think the government of Karnataka, under the dynamic leadership of the Minister of Industries and our Honorable Chief Minister, they immediately acted, and they gave a tremendous support in terms of giving the bank loans, waiving of the electricity charges, and also opening of industries. In fact, the balancing of economy and the safety was a big challenge. And when we appealed to the minister, in fact, he was convinced of the safety practices in the industry, and he allowed the industries to open in the urban areas with a lot of caution. And urban Bangalore, rural Bangalore, and Ramanagara was integrated into one single entity for the ease of industrial operations, even allowing the employees to come from the other districts. Unfortunately, 80% of the employed labor is from other districts, and government supported us in giving the transportation, getting the passes done in no time, and quickly all industries were able to start the operations. I think that was the kind of flexibility we had. Hats off to the government, and I have no words to thank. In fact, whatever I mentioned is only a few, including the second shift opening. Therefore, I think Karnataka is one of the earliest states to bounce back to near normalcy in spite of a COVID crisis. I'm very proud to say that, sir. And during this COVID crisis, Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce rose to the occasion. In fact, we conducted more than 100 plus webinars, almost every day 2 or 3 webinars on important points relating to COVID crisis and survival for the industries, including the benchmarking of best practices, safety practices, how to improve the efficiency, how to reduce the labor cost, how to promote Gemba Kaizens, and many such kind of knowledge sharing platforms, and including many platforms on IoT and 3D printing, digital transformations, blockchains. I think our chambers responded to the occasion very quickly, and we also supported the COVID cause by asking all our members to contribute generously to the CM Relief Fund. And I would proudly say that Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce donated 5 lakhs to the CM Relief Fund, and our member company, BioPlus, under the leadership of Sri Sandeep Arora, his father of the past president, Mr. K.K. Arora, they contributed 1 million worth sanitizers to the government of Karnataka with the support of industry minister. I think this was a very brilliant landmark, I would say, and we quickly acted to the noble cause. And I'm very happy to say that Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we signed the MOU with Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council under the initiatives of Sri Vineet Verma, Executive Director of Brigade Group and President World Trade Center. And we also signed a MOU with Capital Goods Skill Council this time with the big initiative from Mr. Chandramouli. And we also started the Emerging Star Award. It was a pan-India event. And we thought we'll not even get 50 nominations in the COVID time. But to our surprise, we got more than 198 nominations and used a lot of social media and FM radio channels to reach to the people. And I'm very happy to say, and we got nearly 200 startup companies with more than 3 years of existence. And I have to sincerely thank Mr. Dr. Ravindran, Mr. Ravi and entire team, and also Mr. K. Jairaj, former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka. He has been a mentor, friend and philosopher to us on this event. And we could largely succeed this event, and we are in the final stage of announcing the award with a big support from Deloitte as an evaluation and knowledge partner. And we also successfully started the leadership forum of CEOs for the industries to share the knowledge and wisdom of the supporting member companies. And we could also add a very good close interaction with the state and center on all the reforms, labor reforms, manufacturing policy reforms, and the COVID reforms. And we could get all these captains on board for a common purpose in no time. And this time we had some fantastic events, a kind of one-to-one with Bharathan Kandaswamy, the son-in-law of Sri Balachandra and the managing director of Kavitalaya Films. He gave us the kind of corporate learnings for film industry, and he was fantastically connecting the kind of learnings that he could learn from the corporate life. And Mr. Muthuraman, the former vice chairman of Tata Steel, he said the kind of change paradigm shift mechanism and the changeover breakthrough that he achieved in Tata Steel, and the kind of success story of Shekhar Vishwanathan. He shared the Toyota story. And we also had Mrs. Apurva Purohit, the author of The Lady You Are the Boss, as a part of the Women Empowerment Panel. And we also had Dr. Murali Mohan, the leading pulmonologist. In fact, when the COVID crisis started, I proudly say that Bangalore Chambers was one of the earliest chambers, thanks to Dr. Francis College and Samira. We started the seminar and knowledge sharing of COVID do's and don'ts. And we also had a successful cricket and golf tournament in spite of challenges. And I'm very happy to say that we are very active on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we're also getting a fantastic support of senior people, and including senior IAS officers like Sri Vidya Shankar, Sri Ravi Kumar, Sri Gaurav Gupta, Sri Mageshwar Rao, Mrs. Gunjan Krishna, to name a few, and Dr. Siva Shankar, and they're all very active and supporting us from time to time. And Mr. Dayavari, and I would sincerely thank all of them. And finally, I think Mr. Devesh Agarwal, the president of Bangalore Chambers, did a fantastic job. In fact, I'm very happy to say that me, Mr. Devesh, and Mr. Shekhar, we had a seamless communication, and we were able to overcome several issues together as a team. And I have to congratulate Devesh, and he has given me a very, very tall target as an incoming president. I'm sure with all your support, we can work together and take Bangalore Chambers to the next levels. Once again, I welcome all of you. Thank you so much. Jai Hind and Jai Karnataka. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. T.R. Parasuraman, for sharing great insights and success stories, especially during the time of COVID and some of the landmark moments of the Bangalore Chamber of the Industry and Commerce. We now move on to the next part of our session, where if we can request our current president of the chamber, Shri Devesh Agarwal to deliver the presidential address. Shri Devesh Agarwal is also the Managing Director of Jason's Technologies. You must know that he was awarded the Lockheed Martin 2008 India Innovation Silver Medal for the great insights and value that he has added to the industry. Shri Devesh Agarwal is also on board of Customs Advisory Committee, Government of India. He has over 26 years of experience in end-to-end value chains and product management. We need to acknowledge that he has been on certain high-level committees, especially when it comes to the aviation sector, on airport connectivity, and also City Connect. Very passionate again about aviation, he is also, not surprisingly, the editor of the BangaloreAviation.com, which has ranked as one of the India's aviation best websites. We should admit that his company as well, Jason's Technology, whose product, which powers over the Ethernet, are made in India, have been used on over 7 continents, including Antarctica. A proud welcome, and now may I request Shri Devesh Agarwal, the current president of the Chamber, to deliver the presidential address.
Thank you, Samira, and good evening to everybody. A very warm welcome to our Honorable Minister for Large and Medium Industry, Shri Jagdish Shettar, Shri Vikram Kirloskar, CMD of Kirloskar Systems, the Vice Chairman of Toyota Kirloskar Motors, which incidentally happens to be the largest single taxpayer in the state of Karnataka, and the immediate past President of the Confederation of Indian Industry, Shri Gaurav Gupta, the Principal Secretary to the Government of Karnataka, Industries and Commerce Department, Shri Romal Shetty, President Consulting, Deloitte India, a galaxy of past presidents of BCIC and other chambers, industry captains, of course, my two very able Senior Vice President and Vice President, Mr. Parsuraman and Mr. Shekhar, distinguished members of the chamber, members of the media. To reiterate the support we have received from the government, it is not just within the IAS, but the minister, whenever we faced an issue, we were received with warmth, our ideas were listened to with pragmatism, and the best foot forward was put forth by the government. I must also acknowledge the support we received from the Chief Secretary, Mr. Vijay Bhaskar, when we faced certain critical issues. With the support of the Industries and Commerce Department, we raised the issues to the leadership and they solved it. Also, a thanks to members of the media. I think I mentioned it, but just making sure. I'm very happy and extend a very warm welcome to you on this, the August occasion of the 43rd Annual General Meeting of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. At the outset, please allow me to mention that during the ongoing pandemic, as a chamber, we have maintained the recommended protocols of the government and ensured safety and hygiene at all levels, both within our chamber and outside the organization during all our interactions. All of us are going through a new normal, including this virtual meet that is happening right now, with over 600 plus people in attendance, all from all over the world. We would have never visualized such a moment in any of our contingency plans, not even 6 months ago. The changes adopted by us, in fact adopted by everybody, shows and demonstrates how human beings and industries have this innate ability to adapt even to some of the greatest crises that we face. We would like to humbly submit that the Chamber expressed its solidarity to the government of Karnataka and has contributed a nominal sum of rupees 5 lakhs to the Chief Minister's COVID Relief Fund to enhance better preparedness. Our member, Messrs. BioPlus, has contributed rupees 10 lakhs worth of sanitizer to the fund as well. Other members of our chamber have contributed to the state as well as other COVID relief activities in their individual capacity. I'm very happy to inform you that the Chamber has been at the forefront of espousing the cause and interests of its members through interactions with government officials, both from the center and the state, by organizing interactive sessions, seminars, and of course, once with COVID started, webinars on topical issues. The Chamber organized several events with thought leaders, senior bureaucrats, political leaders, industry experts, and professionals on a wide cross-section of subjects to discuss and deliberate on several critical issues affecting the industry and the economy during the year. The Chamber has evolved into a body to reckon with, and the year that has gone by has been momentous in many ways for all of us who have been associated with the Chamber. The BCIC, with its valuable contributions in its journey, in its 44-year-old journey, has clearly set new milestones in the backdrop of all of us going through unprecedented times during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is of course posing huge challenges on all aspects of the economy of our country. The BCIC has been constantly taking up critical issues of industry with both state and central government authorities and keeping abreast the members by sharing government notifications and policy updates regularly. The Chamber was in the forefront of constantly meeting with government authorities and submitting timely recommendations and representations towards taxation, manufacturing, MSME, labor laws, and other policy measures aimed to address the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. And some of them have been actioned despite constraints. We are thankful to the government for taking much needed steps in the ease of doing business in Karnataka. It includes the industry's land procurement reforms and the Industry Facilitation Act, which allows industries to commence activities immediately while being given 3 years for obtaining the needed approvals. I am very sure that these are the steps that foreign investors as well as domestic investors will look when they look at Namma Karnataka as the gateway to future India. Though the year provided a sense of satisfaction to BCIC on its initiatives to enrich member interests, the Chamber has also taken a record of ramifications on the debilitating global economic scenario to help members meet the challenges ahead. With the dominions of digitization, the Chamber switched to organizing webinars on a regular basis and enhance its reach and visibility for members' activities, including events on topical issues that helped members stay connected, receive updates from government, and connect virtually with each other. The webinars were addressed by distinguished experts from government, industry, and profession, and providing remedial measures for their concerns and imparting valuable knowledge to our esteemed membership. The Chamber also addressed issues and various challenges faced by MSMEs in particular, various schemes of the government on skill development, industrialization, and support to MSMEs, economic slowdown, and its influence on MSMEs and entrepreneurs, including startups. And startups are crucial because Karnataka and Bangalore in particular is the home of startups in India. We have organized workshops and interactions to increase awareness, and our speakers included some of the biggest names in industry, and we are very thankful for them for sharing their time and their knowledge with us. We have had open house discussions with leadership teams from TVS Motors, Toyota Kirloskar Auto Parts, Toyota Engines, Volvo, just to name a few. We also had distinguished members from the IT sector, including TCS, Mindtree, etc. The Chamber also conducted, and this is something I'm especially proud of, the Chamber conducted programs on women's safety and women's empowerment, mental well-being during the periods of lockdown, and rebooting not just oneself, but also rebooting their business. After all, as much as we would like business to succeed, business cannot succeed without an individual's health and mental well-being in the highest order. The Chamber continues to receive excellent support and cooperation from high commissions, embassies, and trade missions, especially in the efforts of holding interactive sessions with visiting delegations. We had a very productive session with the Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand when he visited Bangalore, and we were able to convey to him a lot of concerns of our members and methods on which we can improve trade ties, not just through traditional business, but also cooperation by having chefs from Thailand come over and chefs from India go to Thailand. I'm delighted to inform that during the year, we have inked memorandums of understanding with the Tourism and Hospitality Sector Skill Council with the support and efforts of Mr. Vineet Verma of Brigade Group and our chair and co-chair of the Tourism and Hospitality Committee, Mr. Srijan Vadera and Mr. Jagdish Menda. We also inked an MOU with the Capital Goods Skill Council, thanks to the efforts of our past president, Mr. A.N. Chandramouli, who is a titan in the capital goods industry. We have also established an MOU with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Elidab Setif, Algeria, to develop more business relationships. This, of course, is in addition to our ongoing memorandum of understanding that we have with the Aerospace Skills Council, which was spearheaded by our committee mentor, Mr. Ashok Saxena. The BCIC constituted an exclusive leadership forum with the objective of providing the foundation to advance leadership skills, engage in meaningful and purposeful conversations with cross-section of executives and thought leaders across the spectrum, and to reinforce initiatives considered most critical to organizational business success. The Chamber also initiated the BCIC Emerging Stars Award for Karnataka-based startups, and we have received over 150 nominations, which are being thoroughly vetted. Of course, thanks to Dr. Ravindran for spearheading these efforts. Thanks to Mr. K. Jayaraj, the former Additional Chief Secretary of the State of Karnataka, for leading the jury. And we are going, despite the COVID pandemic, the efforts are continuing and it will be bear fruition. We are going to promote the vibrant business ecosystem in the state. We are identifying and recognizing early stage startups and ventures and help them accelerate their business through advice, business development, and funding. We must thank the principal knowledge partner Deloitte, as well as the support we have received from central and state government bodies like AGNI, the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad Alumni Association, and various members of BCIC and other stakeholders. I must also recognize the efforts of the IT committee, which has taken a lot of efforts to hold Excelathons and hackathons to promote innovation aimed at social inclusion and making sure technology reaches the masses in India. Thank you so much for the efforts to Manas Das Gupta and Richa Sarna on this front. Coinciding with this session, the Chamber will be launching its prominent and exclusive reports. We have conducted a detailed survey and a report on how Karnataka, which is titled Namma Karnataka, which is our theme for this year, and will focus on how Karnataka will emerge as the most preferred investment destination post-COVID on the global economy. An exclusive study, The Gateway to Karnataka, a new second airport for the Bangalore region to accelerate industrial growth in the southwest of Bangalore for the next 50 years. A BCIC Atmanirbhar Bharat Impact Analysis authored by our own Vice President, Mr. K.R. Shekhar. I'm happy to share my joy about the Chamber enhancing its membership, underscoring its popularity and credibility in promoting the interests of industry and business in the state. I started at the beginning, but I must again take the opportunity to express my deep gratitude and profound thanks to my fellow office bearers, the Senior Vice President, Mr. T.R. Parsuraman, the Vice President, Mr. K.R. Shekhar, and our immediate past President, Mr. Kishore Alva, for their unstinted support and cooperation in helping me discharge my duties. I have always held that a chamber, especially the BCIC, the strength of the BCIC lies with its expert committees who are headed by domain experts who share their time, their knowledge, and their efforts to the members. I must thank them for all the leaders. I must thank all the leaders of the expert committee for organizing programs and deliberating issues which are of relevance to our members and ensuring that the members receive a value proposition and continue to appreciate the efforts of the chamber. All the past presidents and members of the management committee have always been a very valuable source of strength. They have been patient with me when I have sort of flown off the handle. I thank you for that. They have been guides, they have been mentors, and they have been pillars of support. Only with this whole team, I was able to execute my responsibilities to the levels that I am comfortable with. I'm also thankful to all the members of the chamber for their support to the chamber, not just in the programs, but whenever the chamber asked for support and help, they have been willing to step forward. I have to also recognize the support and encouragement received from government, the Council of Ministers, the secretaries, the administrative officers and officials of state and central governments who have been always working with us in a pragmatic, proactive and collaborative manner. Lastly, I must thank the efforts of the Secretariat headed by Mr. Prithvi in keeping the momentum going through the year, and we have made BCIC the Apex Regional Chamber of Industry. I wish the new incoming team the very best. Of course, they have my support for now and forever. Thank you so much. Jai Karnataka, Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Devesh Agarwal, for highlighting the various initiatives taken forward by BCIC. It is indeed a platform for thought leaders, for industry experts, mainly to come forward, discuss and deliberate on critical issues which the industry and the economy is facing, most importantly, rebooting not just oneself, but the business as well. Promoting investments and industrial development in the state is of key importance to the chamber and to the companies that are associated with the chamber. It is a proud honor to also have with us today at the 43rd AGM, Shri Gaurav Gupta IAS, Principal Secretary to Government, Commerce and Industry Department, Government of Karnataka. Shri Gaurav Gupta is also very much active in promoting investments and industrial development in the state. Over the past 30 years in Indian administrative service, he has served in fields of commerce, infrastructure, power, and urban development. Prior to his current role, Shri Gupta served as Principal Secretary in the Department of Information Technology, Biotechnology, and Science and Technology from 2017 to 2019, where he stimulated a number of initiatives to take up innovation, research, and growth of startups, thereby establishing Bangalore as a global technology hub. We are very proud to welcome you, Shri Gaurav Gupta IAS, the Principal Secretary to the Government, Commerce and Industries Department, Government of Karnataka. And may we now request you to address our viewers, the media, and the business community.
Hello, good evening. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes, thank you. So let me congratulate and compliment the Bangalore Chambers of Industry and Commerce for a very productive year gone by. As briefed by Mr. Devesh Chaturvedi, the outgoing president of the Bangalore Chambers, it has been indeed a very eventful year, and with the guidance of our Honorable Industries Minister, and together with the inputs from the industry leaders and also the trade bodies, I am very happy to note that we have been largely able to steer the industry through the COVID storm. The upheaval is still not over, but with the standard operating protocols, cares and safeguards, industry has battled through with the support of the Chief Minister and the State Cabinet. We have also used this opportunity to revamp number of legislative changes and policies. Particularly important are the policies on land, making it easier for industries to buy land, and also labor, in which again we had very great inputs from the Bangalore chambers and others to revamp the issues of how we can have the applicability limits raised for the Industrial Disputes Act, for the Contract Wages Act, and also for the Factories Act. We also introduced provision for fixed term employment and increased the number of hours restriction for overtime. As a part of the Industries Facilitation Act, amendments were brought about. I'm sure Honorable Minister is here and he would like to brief that further. But we now have provided a legislative platform on which industries that are approved, the projects that are approved can go ahead without any kind of downstream approvals and on the basis of self-certifications and online payment of fees. Now, these changes which have been brought about are also coupled with changes on the industrial policy front, which have also been taken up with a focus to integrate Karnataka with the global supply chains, driving research and development and innovation, and also to ensure inclusive and balanced development across the state. So we have had several initiatives on which I'm sure Honorable Minister Sir would speak. And let me say that for the first time we have introduced production-linked incentives to support the kind of investments that are being brought about. We came to know that tax-based incentives were not enough in the GST regime, and those have been completely revamped as a result of the decision taken in the State Cabinet, led by Honorable Chief Minister and also the Industries Minister. The coming days, we are also been working on how to ensure more and more investments to flow into the state. An investment task force has been constituted. We have been interacting with number of industry, number of countries for greater investments and shifting of global supply chains. I know it is not easy to say so, but and a number of countries like Korea and Japan have been saying that while they are looking internally to shift, but still they have not decided. And the survey of a number of these companies who have invested in China says that almost 80 to 90% may not shift. However, we know that the changes are happening. We have identified sectors which are leading to further investments, particularly in the field of electronic manufacturing, in the field of pharma, in the fields of toys, air conditioning, and number of other fields in collaboration with Government of India, the Invest India, and other teams. So the government, together with the industry leaders, together with the thought leaders, has been working on number of these initiatives, and we are optimistic that in the difficult times to come, we will use the opportunity to drive investments. And I'm also very happy to say that number of these new investments are looking at joint venture partners. So I would very strongly recommend that the BCIC also should indicate which of your companies are ready to jointly partner with the international companies and give us a list so that we can take it up. Now, I would cite examples of several workshops that we have had with Japan, with Korea, with France, Germany, US, and others, almost on a daily basis. And we have been able to sign more than 27,000 crores investments into the state in the recent months. and I'm sure that more is to follow. We are fast-tracking the approvals through the single window of mechanism, chaired by the Honorable Industries Minister. Even today also, just prior to this event, Honorable Minister held a review in order to streamline the availability of land, industrial land with ready-built infrastructure, so that we could drive more investments into the state. So I am optimistic and very, very confident that Karnataka will take advantage of the promising scenario and strive to facilitate investments by implementing favorable policies and programs. I hope to collaborate with BCIC and to work towards a prosperous Karnataka. Thank you all very much and look forward to a very, very productive and engaging year for the new team at BCIC. Wish you all the best for the coming year. Thank you.
Many thanks to our Principal Secretary to the Government of Commerce and Industries Department, Government of Karnataka, Shri Gaurav Gupta. And it's really lovely to hear about the introducing provisions when it comes to fixed-term employment, revisiting overtime policies. The Industries Facilitation Act as well is a big highlight for the companies moving forward. And it's really great to hear from you about international partnerships, a very promising time, although during COVID, that you have given hope to a lot of us corporates in and around Karnataka that, there are still bright horizons ahead. So once again, thanks from all of us for a very inspiring and momentous talk addressing our viewers today. We now move on to a very, stalwart and a captain of industry, a great pillar who has driven the entire industrial and the manufacturing and many diverse sectors forward. With over 25 greenfield sites over the last 30 years in the manufacturing sector, we have with us Shri Vikram Kirloskar. Shri Vikram Kirloskar is also the CMD Kirloskar Systems Limited, Vice Chairman Toyota Kirloskar Motors Limited, and immediate past President Confederation of Indian Industry, which is the CII. He is a graduate in mechanical engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA, the fourth generation member of the Kirloskar Group, started way before in the year 1888. He is responsible for partnering the Toyota Group and starting a major automobile manufacturing industry in the state. For this, he has been recognized by the government and presented with the Suvarna Karnataka Award. He was involved in opening in the import licensing for capital equipment while serving on the Government Development Council for Machine Tools in the 80s. He has also served as president of the Central Manufacturing Technology Institute in Bangalore. He continues to serve on the National Council of the CII. With many accolades in his cap, we proudly honor and welcome Shri Vikram Kirloskar and request you to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this very warm welcome. Honorable Minister Shri Jagdish Chatterjee, Honorable Secretary Mr. Gupta, President of BCIC and all the other officials, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. When we started this meeting and in the informal session, I was saying that it is very difficult to really understand what is happening outside. And the only knowledge I'm getting is what I see on TV and the kind of meetings we are having through these video conferences. But I'd like to start the meeting with just a thought for a lot of the COVID warriors that we have. When I look at the various scenes I see on TV, I always think of all the COVID warriors, the nurses, the doctors, the people who are delivering goods, all at a personal risk. And I think the effort they're doing is something commendable to keep our life going. We talk about supply chains, but I think these people who are really trying very hard, make sure that our supply chains at home are working and our lives are relatively comfortable. So I'd like to start with a very big thank you to all of them and acknowledge their efforts. Over the years, I have gone and met many people across the world, attended many different kind of meetings, tried to push investment from into India. And many people would always say, why do you keep recommending coming to Karnataka? And I said, and my standard answer is that over the last 25, 30 years that I have been working in Karnataka and have been running business in Karnataka, I have found that the policies in Karnataka have remained pretty consistent in spite of many changes in political parties and in government. And I think that is the biggest strength that we have here in Karnataka. And I'm not saying it just because Mr. Shettar and Mr. Gupta are here, but I think Karnataka has developed a certain amount of institutions, a certain amount of responsibility towards industry, which has been carried through whichever political party is in power or whichever bureaucracy has been in power. And I think that's something we should be very, very proud of and ensure that we continue in the same way. You know, what I'd like to talk today is perhaps in all humbleness that I'm going to try to give a little bit of advice. This is a very difficult time, and it's sometimes easy to give advice, but sometimes may be difficult to take it because we are all in so much pain. COVID has resulted in a lot of our businesses, either some of them close to shutting down or in terrible financial trouble, or we're having desperation trying to pay our employees, and we are all in terrible, terrible pain. And at this time, to talk about advice, what to do, I think can be difficult to hear. And I hope you forgive me if I say something which doesn't sound so good or maybe not appropriate. But I think this is a time during the COVID time that we have to relook at the way we are working. All of us have, it's beyond just doing a video conference and beyond doing virtual meetings. I think we have to have a real relook at our competitiveness. This morning I was on some TV program and they were talking about competitiveness of auto components. And I said, listen, China, and this was a discussion on China, whether we should import from China and all the issues. I said, yes, we can import from China. It's a security issue, and whatever government decides, we have to support that in whichever way it goes. But China makes 25 million four-wheelers. We make less than 3 million. Obviously, the component makers at that volume are going to be one of the most competitive in the world. And people are going to try to import parts from China. Anyway, happily, I can tell you regarding Toyota Kirloskar Motors, we hardly import anything directly or indirectly from China. Most of our cars are all made here only in India. A very, very little import, and that will also be reassigned pretty soon. But it's the overall volume of 25 million vehicles in China which matters. And these are the things we should look at. If we want to get competitive, and that is I think the word of the hour during this COVID crisis, how do we get competitive? We need to think little bigger. We need to think of bigger volumes. We need to think of a bigger economy. We need to think of growth. That's the only way we can compete. People are not going to just leave China and come to India because they like the Indians or they don't like the Chinese. They will come here if we are competitive. I think that is important. What do I mean by competitiveness? It's very simple. Quality, zero defect quality, lowest possible cost, and the best delivery, whilst keeping the environment clean. I think environment is a big issue here. We have to keep our environment clean. I don't want to talk too much about that, but there's a lot of work we've been doing on it, and it can be seen. But these three basic points, quality, cost, and delivery, is something we have to get back to during this time and think deeply on each of these issues. You have a new president, Mr. Parsuram, who's come, who's done I know who's worked on QCD all his life and has done a wonderful job and can certainly help a lot of the members. So my request is please relook at your processes, your standard work, your target setting, how you'll implement quality, cost, delivery, relook at everything, all kinds of innovations. We are running at a lower volume than China, so we are already one step behind. So we need a lot of innovation and technology to meet these levels of QCD, besides absolutely zero defect work and very high skill. So please look at that. Second thing I think we should look at, very, very important, is an issue of how do we build trust between industry, government, industry, and society. Without a solid trust between industry and government, when we talk of ease of doing business, but really going way ahead on ease of doing business, it is very difficult unless there is a two-way trust and a two-way respect between government and industry. And from industry side, we have to figure out how can we, what effort and what actions we have to take to build our side of the trust, and then also persuade government to take actions to build their side of the trust. But we have to come to if you look at developed economies, the top economies of the world, you'll find that trust between government and industry, trust between industry and society and government is at the highest. And that's a developed country, I believe. And that's what makes ease of business doing better. One of the key issues for industry as we try to build trust with society and government is a high level of corporate governance and ethics. It doesn't require too much laws and stuff to understand what is governance. Governance is something you have to be, that you will not do something which you will not be proud of or which you will not be willing to tell your son or your wife. It's simple as that. Doing the right thing at work is good governance. And I think that is the important issue when we come to building up trust with government and trust with society. Good corporate governance. The other two basic issues I think we should spend time thinking about how we rearrange our work and how we make sure we implement them for the future as we come out of the COVID crisis. One other suggestion, Mr. Shettar is here and Mr. Gupta is here. One suggestion to the government of Karnataka. I think you have been doing a fantastic job during this COVID crisis regarding land and labor reform, and I think made a lot of announcements to make Karnataka very attractive. I think you've also talked of self-certification in many areas. But why can't we just do away with all kinds of regulations and only go for self-certification? And then you do an audit based on artificial intelligence. It will change the whole picture of Karnataka and how people will invest in Karnataka. That will be the simplest way of ease of doing business. I know it's a tall order and it's a stretch, but perhaps that could be the goal, and we go step by step and try to achieve it. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Thank you, BCIC, for the wonderful work you and all the office bearers and all the members have done. Thank you, Government of Karnataka, for the leadership that has been shown to industry, not only now, but over the last so many years. I wish all of you very well and good luck as we come out of this COVID crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Vikram Kirloskar, for such an impactful keynote address. We really like when you started talking and recognizing the COVID warriors, because I think they're close to all our hearts together. And as you said, the more we recognize and appreciate them sometimes is really, really not enough. They're doing so much for ourselves, society, and keeping of the engines of the industry really running out together. I really, really like the way you spoke about different recommendations to the government. And I think, your words on doing the right thing at work, which leads to great corporate governance, trust, respect, and working together, is most important and a great take home and a lesson for all of us in the corporate world. So once again, on behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, thank you for that very powerful delivery of your keynote session. Once again, Shri Vikram Kirloskar, who is the CMD of Kirloskar Systems Limited, the Vice Chairman of Toyota Kirloskar Motors Limited, and of course, the immediate past President of the Confederation of Indian Industries. So all you viewers out there, I think you have been extremely wonderful, patient, and hearing us out through all this. So, before we continue the session, I would like to mention, please don't go away because we will have the felicitation session by our Honorable Minister, where we will also, personally and professionally appreciate you for all the work that you have been doing. We are also going to make slight changes in our current program. We will now have the official release of the BCIC exclusive reports. May I mention that coinciding with today's AGM, the Chamber will be releasing exclusive reports on the following publications: the BCIC Deloitte Invest Karnataka Competitiveness Report, the BCIC Feasibility Study, a new second airport for the Bengaluru region, and the BCIC Atmanirbhar analysis by our very own office bearer, Mr. K.R. Shekhar, who is also the Senior Vice President of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. We will now have a short presentation of the reports. Well, these reports will be submitted to you all soon for your viewing so that you can also have greater insights into how, the reports will be taking place. We now move on to the next part of the program where we will request Honorable Minister Shri Jagdish Shettar, who is the Honorable Minister for Large and Medium Scale Industries, Government of Karnataka, to say a few words to us on this occasion. I hope, first of all, on behalf of BCIC, let me thank the Honorable Minister for his time with us today. Shri Jagdish Shettar is also the former Chief Minister of Karnataka, who was the 21st Chief Minister from 2012 to 2013. He has subsequently served, before I continue, may I request you all to kindly mute your systems, please? He has subsequently served as leader of the opposition in the Karnataka Legislative Assembly. Earlier, he was Speaker of the Karnataka Legislative Assembly in 2028 and to 2009. Shri Shettar is also considered as one of the most influential leaders of North Karnataka region. He has been associated with so many different reforms. As you know, we have the Kalsa Banduri project, which I guess most of you are familiar with, the construction of the Suvarna Vidhana Sauda in Belgaum, the establishment of the Southern Western Railways headquartered in Hubli, Dharwad. May I now request the Honorable Minister, Shri of Large Scale and Small Scale Industries, Government of Karnataka, Shri Jagdish Shettar, to deliver the address to our viewers.
Namaskar. Ellargi namaskara. Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, Chairman and Managing Director, Kirloskar Systems. Mr. Devesh Agrawal, President BCIC. Mr. T.R. Parshuraman, President-elect BCIC, Mr. K.R. Shekhar, Vice President, Mr. Gaurav Gupta, Mr. Romal Shetty, members of the newly elected to Management Committee of BCIC, distinguished industry captains, media friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. At the outset, let me thank BCIC for inviting me and congratulate for its 43rd annual general meeting. I congratulate the team BCIC under the leadership of the outgoing President, Mr. Devesh Agrawal, for the good work done last year, and BCIC has supported government during the difficult times by giving timely inputs on reopening of industries, SOPs to be followed, which were well received by the government. It is my pleasure to congratulate Mr. Parashuraman for taking charge as a president and Mr. Shekhar as a senior vice president for the period 2020-21, and my best wishes to the entire team. I need to hear that BCIC has been working very closely with the state government by providing valuable inputs on a regular basis in policy formulation process. You must be aware that on July 23rd, the state cabinet of the Karnataka government approved the new industrial policy for 2020-25. The policy comes at a sensitive time for the state given the impact of COVID-19 and the need for a clear strategy to attract investment, create jobs, and incentivize individual growth. Overall, the new industrial policy seeks to attract investment worth of rupees 5 trillion. The sectors encouraged include automobiles and auto components, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, knowledge-based industries, electric vehicles, and logistics, among others. The new policy will facilitate greater investments in advanced manufacturing, research and development, and innovation, and aims to create at least 2 million jobs. The new industrial policy intended to promote the development of Tier 2, Tier 3 cities in Karnataka, provide the state to rank third in merchandise exports in the next 5 years, and maintain a yearly industrial growth rate of 10%. The policy will be pro-industry and aligned with the recent reforms such as amendments to the Land Reforms Act, the Labour Act, and the Karnataka Industries Facilitation Amendment Act. The new industry policy for 2020-25 will oversee new incentives and in easing of the regulatory process. To emerge as a globally competitive with skill and scale that leverage high-tech growth, following thrust areas have been recognized: industry for research and development, intellectual property rights, technology adoption and innovation, cluster development initiatives, and sustainable industrialization. Key focus sectors have been identified under the policy: automobiles and auto components, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, engineering and machine tools, knowledge-based industries, logistics, renewable energy, aerospace, defense, and electric vehicles. The new industrial policy outlines investment promotion subsidies for enterprises according to their scale of production, turnover, and whether they are operated by persons belonging to special categories. It is first time this policy has been introduced on the basis of the turnover in the entire nation, first of its kind in the Karnataka. The state is India's leading hub for technology companies, which are located predominantly in its capital, Bangalore. Karnataka is also a popular destination for auto. The state is India's largest software exporter, largest producer of aerospace and defense equipments, has the largest biotech hub, and is the largest producer of coffee in the country. Karnataka also hosts the highest number of R&D centers, technical and medical institutions, and startup enterprise in India. Overall, Karnataka stands fourth in merchandise exports in national export basket. Exports from the state stood at around $17.4 billion in 2018-19, which is 5.3% of India's total exports. The state ranked third among Indian states in terms of the foreign direct investment inflows, attracting FDI worth $40.7 billion between 2000 and 2019. Meanwhile, Bangalore has been ranked the fourth best city for investment in India. Karnataka is well connected to all major markets with two international airports, 3,07,030 km of road network, 5,543 km railway network. The state has a coastline of 300 km with 12 minor forts and one major fort in Mangaluru. The Bengaluru-Mumbai Economic Corridor and Chennai-Bengaluru Industrial Corridor pass through Karnataka. The state is home to the Pavagad Solar Park, which has an installed capacity of 2000 megawatt, the largest in the country, of which 1400 megawatt is operational. The total installed power capacity in Karnataka stands 28,400 megawatt. I am also aware of the challenges in terms of time delays due to long procedures for new industries to set up. I would like to mention that the government is very seriously working to reduce the long lead times by eliminating muda or the waste in Toyota language by working very closely with all the stakeholders. I am very happy to note that this year BCIC has set a theme as Namma Karnataka, a gateway to the future India. This statement is an inspiring statement. I heartily welcome this statement by the BCI. I heartily welcome this as a most preferred destination for a happy and rewarding journey for the investors. I assure that the government will extend full support and cooperation to realize the theme set by the BCIC for promoting the ease of doing business. In this important occasion, I further compliment BCIC for acting as the brand ambassador of Karnataka, especially Bengaluru, in creating awareness among the business community by organizing many webinars during these difficult situations to share the best practice for survival in the COVID crisis. I would like to compliment the Chamber for releasing the exclusive reports, namely BCIC Deloitte survey report on how Karnataka can emerge as the most preferred investment destination given the impact of COVID-19 on global economy. BCIC exclusive report, the gateway to Karnataka, a new second airport for the Bangalore region. These two reports, definitely, today these reports are released, and definitely it is an eye-opener for everybody, and even these reports are that our officers and industrial, everybody has to study. Definitely it is a valuable things today you released. I am also thankful to BCIC to disseminate COVID-related information, guidance to the business community to make sure that all business communities are aware of government guidance, orders, etc. It is my duty to recall and thank BCIC for the generous contribution to Chief Minister's COVID-19 Relief Fund directly and also through its members. In the last few months, since the lockdown, Karnataka has attracted. This is very important because looking to last 3-4 months, lockdown and other expense we know. But in the meantime, in the last few months, since the lockdown, Karnataka has attracted investment worth of 20,107 crores and created 45,994 jobs in the state. This is very good news for Karnataka and for the investors in to be able to invest in Karnataka. I would like to assure all business people that you will face no hurdles whatsoever in functioning of your business activities, and my officials will handhold you through to ensure that our country and the state will come out of this situation very soon and normal life will return soon. And whatever the suggestions, what are the opinion expressed by Mr. Kirloskar and even Devesh Agrawal and even regarding Mr. Parusharam, and another important thing that whatever the contents in the reports, I personally go through all the things and the points, even like a proposal of putting a second airport in Bangalore, that also will take it very seriously, because in Maharashtra there is already a construction is going on in a Navi Mumbai second airport. So it is definitely all your ideas and opinions will take it very seriously. I congratulate the new office bearers and wish BCIC all success in its future programs and assure all support in its endeavors. With this, may I once again take this opportunity to extend a hearty thanks to all the distinguished invitees, participants who are present today. Thank you, everybody. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.
Thank you, Honorable Minister for Large and Medium Scale Industry, Government of Karnataka, Shri Jagdish Shettar. It's really wonderful when you spoke about the new industrial policy, very pro-industry, I must say, which is aligned with the new business reforms. It also gives us a lot of hope when you talk about the new investments, the new incentives for high technology growth and global competitiveness. The sustainable industry policies that you're setting up will definitely go a long way in inspiring us entrepreneurs to lead the way and take Namma Karnataka forward. So once again, we have with us the Honorable Minister of Large and Medium Scale Industries, Shri Jagdish Shettar. Thank you so much. We now move to the most momentous phase of the annual general meeting of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, which is the felicitation session. You know, this reminds me of a saying which I keep reading in the morning, and there was a saying which said, keep your word, honor your commitments, and they will double back to honor you. And this was a saying by Bill Rankick, and this reminds me of the honor, the commitment that you all as inspiring leaders take forward. And for this reason, we now commence with the felicitation session and the handing over of mementos to all our special dignitaries and guests of honor be present here today. And sincere thanks to all that and all those who have been with the Bangalore Chamber of Commerce and Industry for making this happen. A very integral part of today's AGM is the release of reports. And these reports have been very exclusive reports because keeping in mind the annual general meeting, they were formulated to talk about the future of the industry moving forward. Our first report will be a presentation by, we have Mr. Romal Shetty with us, who is the President Consulting from Deloitte, India. He will address the BCIC on the Deloitte survey report on how Karnataka can emerge as the most preferred investment destination. Shri Romal Shetty, who is also the President Consulting at Deloitte, has over 20 years of experience in advisory services across large-scale transformation programs covering the business and technology domain. He has worked in over 30 countries across risk and consulting domain. Key focus areas, which are financial operational turnaround, customer experience, product, innovation, revenue management, analytics, business continuity, risk management, cost reduction. Wait a second, I just have a few more topics to go. Managed services, process re-engineering, but most importantly, he is the fellow member of the ICAI and a certified information system auditor. We are really delighted to have you with us, Sri Romal Shetty from Deloitte, India, and over to you to present the report on how Karnataka can emerge as the most preferred investment destination.
Thank you, Samira. Honorable Industries Minister, Honorable Principal Secretary, and other government officials, leading industrialists, BCIC dignitaries, and ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to present
this report, which has really been actually with the support of all the BCIC members. We've had extensive discussions with each of them. And the whole, the philosophy is really in terms of at COVID, there's one part of COVID has caused a lot of distress, but can COVID also be an opportunity? So we really move to the next slide. And what we've seen is obviously from a, if we can move to the next slide, please. Clearly, Karnataka has been number one in a number of things. I think clearly the Honorable Minister mentioned about services, for example, IT services. Clearly, we are clearly there amongst the top states actually globally in terms of specifically relating to FDI. I think again the Minister mentioned about the fact that we've got over 40 billion in terms of FDI. So clearly there are a number of things that we are actually doing very well. But if I had to come to the point, because our presentation is all about recommendations and what we are suggesting, but if I look at, for example, the primary and the secondary sector, well, the tertiary sector is 66% of the GDP, which is higher than all the other states put together, and against the national average of about 54–55%. But when you look at the primary and secondary sector, we've actually had degrowth, a CAGR of -3.8% and -2.8% over the last 10 years. So clearly there are some areas that we need to do much better. So if we move to the next slide, what we've done is based on, we took a few things. We looked at what is the global trade which is happening, what are really the sectors that are actually doing well from a global trade perspective. We looked at the fact from a China perspective, because clearly there is a feeling amongst various companies that everybody wants to have a China +1 or a China alternate strategy. So really looking at what were some of the sectors in China, for example, that were delivering this. We looked at, for example, from a perspective of saying that what could be the import or what could be the demand within the country, within India itself, what could be the demand. And then we mapped all of this to say that what could be where could Karnataka, for example, which could have the capacity and the capability to actually service these sectors. So we really came across 6 sectors which are really from a manufacturing perspective, and 3 sectors from from a services perspective. And again here, you would say IT and ITS, already Karnataka is doing phenomenally while, why more, for example, from an opportunity. But clearly, the world has moved now from providing technology services to really becoming, getting more into artificial intelligence and data science. So can Karnataka become the data science hub of the world? So something like that is what we're really talking. So if we move on to the next slide, what we realized is clearly Bangalore has had tremendous potential. From a perspective of GDP, Bangalore is actually 45% of Karnataka's GDP. But if our studies, based on our extensive studies, what if a state has to really become significantly much bigger and become a much more attractive destination, then we need to ensure that other areas develop it as well, and not just only Bangalore. So our studies indicated there are over 15,000 plus acres industrial land that is available. And if I can just ask the moderator to just click the slides below, please. So clearly, if you look at this, whether it is auto and auto components, whether in terms of trying to really build at Hubli Dharwad, or for example, Harohalli in terms of the electric vehicle cluster, or moving on, if you can just ask the moderator, please, if you can just click. Yeah, please keep clicking, please. Again, similarly, if you can keep looking at textiles, whether in Ballari, or pharma, for example, in terms of Yadgiri or Shivamogga. Now, these are all things where what we're looking at is whether in terms of, is there an ecosystem? Are there low-cost labor? Is there a land bank? Is there planned investments by companies as well? So looking at all of these things clearly is critical. Again, if I can ask the moderator to please click a couple more clicks, please. So looking at food processing, again, one of the things with COVID is while a lot of things have got impacted, the world needs food. So food processing is very important, and therefore, can we have these industries with proximity to raw materials? One more click, please. And also things like, for example, how do we move up the value chain by taking a look at things like electronic hardware? So really looking at where in Mysore and Hubli. So we've really looked at all these different parts of the state and said that where could some of these things come up based on various factors and based on, for example, land bank available. moving on to the next slide. And just request to move to the next slide, please. So we said that how do we make all this happen? I think this is pretty much common sense, but how do we make this really happen? So we said that two kinds of recommendations. What are sector agnostic recommendations and some which are sector specific? One very important thing for this whole thing is that we need to pool land and therefore for any kind of integrated development. So can we leverage the land pooling provisions in the state regulations? That will really help. Second is, how do we attract globally renowned industrial park developers, also domestic developers, clearly having incentives and to build these industrial townships? That's very critical. So something like the electronic towns, Hosur, for example, industrial town, is clearly an area where which is a really a best-in-class practice. Compared to that, Mr. Kirloskar also mentioned about it. How do we be competitive? I mean, for the industries that are set up here, how can we be competitive? So today, power cost, for example, industries is 2 to 18% higher in Karnataka vis-a-vis competing states. So can we ensure that, for example, we focus on some of this, get into low-cost renewable power sources like solar, wind, etc. Look at rationalizing some of the tariffs as well. And the fourth is, how do we have policy aspects such as clearly in terms of, can we have single window clearances, as many single window clearances and as many digital clearances as possible, so that there is no, all projects can move at a faster speed, especially for the MSME. Similarly, industry representation in terms of monitoring of the ease of doing business, which I think is extremely critical. As we develop our ease of doing businesses, more and more investors will come in. And third is clearly that as a country and as a state, we will keep needing to focus on skilling and skilling interventions. And the last slide that I had was, please, if I could move on to the last slide, is really in terms of some sector-specific recommendations. I think there are a number of central government schemes that are coming up, whether in the area of pharma, whether in the area of electronics or textiles. How can the state government build on these central government schemes, including finally, including things like having connectivity between these industrial townships and urban areas, so really helping urban development as well. How can we relook at some of the incentives? I think there are a number of incentives being offered by other states, our competing states, other countries as well in specific sectors. So can we offer some of those incentives? And one of the important areas is, can we look at a cluster approach, which is to say that when we bring in, whether if it's auto is clearly a case where when you bring in auto, you bring in many other things, airports or something like that. Similarly, they bring in the whole the ecosystem. So can we focus on that to bring in the whole ecosystem? The third is really, can we co-locate some of this? Today, for example, if you look at it, a number of these industries are a bit disparate. Can we co-locate these in the similar places to clearly reduce logistics costs? And can we bring up, we have a very, very healthy ecosystem, something that we're really proud of in Karnataka. So can we really say, how can we take these startups in agri-tech and contract farming to really, really build the whole concept of seamless farm to fork linkage? And finally, I would say that any state, ultimately what matters is really the value addition. So are we always getting into value addition and more, for example, things like, design-led manufacturing for PCBs, electromagnetic castings, things like technical textiles as such. And in this world of virtualization, where everything is virtual, this meeting is happening virtually, things are still continuing, and the minister said about more than 20,000 crores coming into India. Can we focus on how can we virtually provide many services? I mean, if I look at, for example, ITITS, largely restricted to a few places in Karnataka, can we look at Dakshin Karnataka? Dakshin Karnataka has probably one of the best talent that is available, whether in terms of education system, whether in terms of literacy. Can that become the ITITS or the artificial intelligence hub, for supporting in hub and spoke model? So that was really, in probably 6-7 minutes, just covering the high-level recommendations. Happy to sort of discuss, Mr. Minister, with you in detail, but I'd like to thank all the BCIC officials who've really given their time and given valuable inputs in making of this report. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a wonderful report, and we should, commendable thanks to Sri Romal Shetty, the President, and, from Deloitte India, to talk about how Karnataka can emerge as one of the most preferred investment decisions. So once again, great sentiments to Karnataka, to India, and to the entrepreneurs and the business community out here. thank you, Shri Romal Shetty, for getting, hands-on with the report, putting it together, and congratulations on its release today at the BCIC AGM, a very remarkable milestone for BCIC at the same time. We now move on to the next report. And the next report is another great feather in the cap, because first of all, this report talks about something which is very integral to Karnataka at the moment. It talks about the gateway to Karnataka, a second airport for the Bangalore region, something which I think all citizens are very proud and excited to know. And this has been pioneered and spearheaded by none other than the current president of the chamber, Shri Devesh Agarwal, who is also the recipient of the Lockheed Martin 2008 India Innovation Award, that I must tell you, very passionate again about the aviation sector, right from the aviation website, bangaloreaviation.com, to much more. Over to you, Shri Devesh Agarwal, President of the Chamber.
Thank you, Samira. And welcome to everybody once again. The airport study was done by a team of specialists and consultants who focus on global aviation patterns and have deep expertise in airport systems in India. Our approach to the study was, what is the current airport? What are the challenges it faces? Is there a clear and defined need for a second airport? And if the second airport is built, will it be feasible? That was the basic approach. And to go forward, basically, airport requirements in Bangalore have to be assessed on 5 broad parameters. The catchment area of the airport, which is typically between 50 and 75 kilometers, whether the airport's capacity can keep up with demand, and one has to remember, it is not just the airport itself, but it is the connectivity to the airport. As we see in the case of our current airport, the airport may have spare capacity, but the roads leading up to the airport do not. Similarly, competitive dynamics, the impact on affordability. One airport, obviously a lack of competition keeps prices high. How does it keep up with the industry's needs? We talked about access and connectivity. And of course, now we are living in a world of multimodal connectivity. Next slide. So let's talk about Bangalore in numbers. Bangalore contributes $110 billion to the state's GDP. 50% of Bangalore's population is from outside the state. 33% of India's tech talent is in Bengaluru itself. And just now, Mr. Romal said about Dakshin Kannada. 100 research centers are in Bengaluru. Bengaluru is the home of unicorns as well as sunicorns. And Bangalore enjoys the position of being the preferred investment destination of India. If I recall, last year, Bangalore received between $6 and $7 billion of India's $13 billion investment. Next slide, please. So the key competitive areas we need is for industry as a whole, looking forward to the next 20 to 50 years, we need adequate infrastructure for future prospects. The government and industry both recognize that we have to decongest the city of Bangalore for its future development. We have to move beyond Bangalore, but moving beyond Bangalore means we must have infrastructure beyond Bangalore. Our members are engaged not just in multiple areas which speak to business interests, but also towards broader goals. So we have to look at inclusive growth. Next slide. Aviation is a critical link to Bangalore's success. If one looks at it, Bangalore has never been well connected by the Indian Railways. The Southern Railways was headquartered in Chennai, South Central was in Secunderabad, Even the Southwestern Railway was in Hubli. So Bangalore has always relied on air transport. So much so that, in fact, Bangalore leads the country in terms of percentage of GDP products by value transported by air. We are about 33 to 50% greater than any other, than the Indian average. So air is critical. It has been providing connectivity, convenience, and capability. And we have been growing at very, very high rates, and we have been growing for the last 20 years. Though Bangalore has got 3 operational airports, only one is allowed to engage in commercial air transport. Now, one has to question whether that becomes an issue, where are we not stressing our infrastructure adequately? One might think that traffic, the COVID pandemic is throwing everything out of whack. But if you look at this slide, the impact of COVID actually is an opportunity. In 2008, soon after the Bangalore airport opened, it was given a breather because of the global financial slowdown. And that is also reflected in this slide, and then it continued growing. Similarly, COVID will have a short-term impact on our growth, but it gives us time to think and, more importantly, plan ahead. For the first time in many years, we have an opportunity to position ourselves ahead of the curve. Coming down to the next slide, airport saturation is inevitable. The internal numbers of Bangalore's existing airports show that they will saturate somewhere by the year 2030, 2031. So past history has shown us that it takes a minimum of 10 years to plan an airport before it comes into being. The airport can be constructed in a very short period of time, maybe 3 to 4 years, but it is actually the time taken to get the land, to put everything else in place, get the structures in place, get the investors in place, etc. So this affords us the time. Now is when we start thinking of the next airport. It's also important that we have to understand playing with words don't work. We may talk about capacities of 70 million, but these are based on averages. That means that the airport is going to support the same amount of traffic at 3 in the morning as it does at 7 or 8 in the morning. And let's look at Bangalore traffic. At 8 o'clock in the morning, we are bumper to bumper traffic. At 3 o'clock in the morning, there's virtually no traffic. The same situation applies to the airport. We have to look at peak capacity. And we also have to measure the capacity of an airport as a whole. As we talked about, it's an integrated system. We have to not just look at airside capacity, we have to look at terminal capacity, and then we have to look at our landside capacity. Next slide, please. We are talking about second and third order impacts. These include Bangalore as an investment destination. We are already seeing, we discussed Mumbai. Mumbai as a city delayed constructing its second airport, and that has cost the city the title of economic capital of India. Bombay today has lost that title to the NCR region, which has one of the largest airports in the world, not even just in India. So it shows how critical air connectivity is to the economy of a particular geographical region. The ability of other cities and companies to come and capture demand, as Bangalore has done successfully, and then flight of capital to those new cities. These are all important impacts that we have to consider. Next slide, please. If one looks, one more slide further, please. The map. Thank you. If one looks at this, I would like to highlight that if one looks at a catchment area of around 50 to 75 kilometers, and I'm just using this as an example, and I'm very sorry if the coincidence, it is just a coincidence. But if one looks at it, today, Kia Motors, which is sitting in Andhra Pradesh, in Penukonda, it is faster to get from the Kia Motor factory to the Bangalore airport than it is to get from Toyota factory to the Bangalore airport. The Toyota factory is located in Biddi, which is just at the border of the catchment area of Bangalore airport, whereas Kia factory is well within the range. So it goes to speak that Karnataka's largest taxpayer is not benefiting as much as from Bangalore's airport. And tomorrow, should our competitors in Tamil Nadu decide to construct an airport in Hosur, it will naturally draw traffic and business away from our city. Next slide, please. If one looks at Bangalore, and along the southwest corridor is where Bangalore is now spreading. Just now in the presentation, Mr. Romal Shetty highlighted the future factories and electronics coming up in Kolar, coming up in Mysore, coming up, and similarly food in Kodagu, Hassan. This is the belt that is severely underserviced at this stage, and that is where the new airport we are proposing should be stationed. It should be stationed somewhere around the Channapatna area or thereabouts. That will bring benefits to Mysore, Ramnagaram, Hassan, and Bangalore equally. If you look at the Bangalore-Mysore-Hassan belt, it has already significant infrastructure. It has got good quality roads. It has got good quality rails. The Bangalore-Mysore stretch of railways has already been doubled. So one can look at, providing commuter rail without any significant upheavals and upgradations to the system. There is already, as I said, development going along this stretch. So there is no disproportionate real estate gain. There is industrial parks and clusters all along between Bangalore and Mysore are going along. And of course, it will help decongest Bangalore. Most importantly, it positions Bangalore for the next 50 years. This is the way forward we feel. It is going to a second airport will promote connectivity. It will balance growth. It will give affordability. And of course, it will continue developing Bangalore as the #1 destination. And when we say Namma Karnataka, gateway to future India, the gateway to Karnataka is Bangalore, and we need a second airport there. Just quoting Swami Vivekananda, we say, arise, awake, and do not stop until the goal is reached. We are comprised of diverse members, but we share a commitment not just to industry, but to the city of Bangalore, the region of Bangalore, and the state of Karnataka. The second airport is not about additional business. It is about securing the future of our city, of our state. Namma Bengaluru, Namma Karnataka. Thank you.
That was really wonderful, very progressive from the stalwart of the aviation sector, Sri Devesh Agarwal, with us presenting once again the exclusive report, The Gateway to Karnataka, a new second airport for the Bengaluru region. Thanks for the wonderful insights and for taking this very exciting initiative forward, something that we all look forward to. We now have the third report, which will be presented by Sri K.R. Shekhar, who is also the Senior Vice President of the Bangalore Chamber of the Industry and Commerce, as well as the partner Deloitte Haskins and Sells LLP. Before we move forward with the presentation of the report, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the presence of certain key dignitaries and delegates who are also with us today, representatives from the government and the corporate sector. We have with us, in no particular order this time, we have Mr. Yoshimitsu Hayashi, who is the Managing Director of Toyota Industries Engine India Private Limited. We also have with us Ms. Sushma Kanitkar, who is the former Director of the State of Pennsylvania. We have Mr. Shekhar Vishwanathan, the Vice Chairman and full-time Director, Toyota Kirloskar Motor Private Limited. We have with us a very dynamic leading lady of the Chamber, Mrs. Indira Prem Menon, the past President, Sri Gopal Hosur, also holding the Chamber by hand and leading it forward, always in terms of great support. Mr. Gopal Hosur, we are really delighted to have you with us. We have a huge number in attendance from the corporate world, the media, representations from different countries who are with us. And once again, before we continue with the next report, most humble thanks for being with us this evening to witness a very historical milestone, the 43rd AGM of the Bangalore Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We now move on, as mentioned, to a presentation on the Atmanirbhar Bharat Analysis Report by Shri K.R. Shekhar, who is the Senior Vice President of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Over to you, Shri K.R. Shekhar.
Thank you, Samira, and I hope I am audible to everybody.
Yes, you are, Shekhar. Okay. Please continue. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Samira, and thanks to everybody. Respected Minister, senior government officials, Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, my good friends Devesh Agarwal and Parasuram, and Mr. Shekhar Vishwanathan, the past president of BCIC, who was the second president when I was started the tenure in BCS, in the 12th year of my BCS tenure in BCS. So thanks to every one of you for being here. And I do not have any presentation, PowerPoint presentation. For a change, I'm going to speak on the contents of the Atmanirbhar Bharat report and impact analysis. The essence of the report is primarily what are the challenges, the implementations, and the key recommendations on the Atmanirbhar Bharat. While certainly we welcome the Atmanirbhar Bharat package as it unveils the government on multiple measures to ease out the pressure on the industry, to open up the industry to different level, opening up the core sector of the industry, and also to make sure that the social sector as well as the MSME sector needs adequate support from the government of India. And this is standing on the 4 pillars of the government, as announced by the Prime Minister of India. But the point which this report is containing is all about the impact of these proposals on the industry and whether these proposals automatically will it take the India to what the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The report contains the proposals, analysis of the proposals in sector-wise. The report also contains what are all the limitations and the challenges on the implementation of the proposals. While these proposals certainly do revive the supply side of the economy, whether the report addresses the demand side of the economy is a critical factor. While in my view, in my humble view, it may address to a limited extent the demand side, but it does not address the full side of the demand levels of the economy. And this report contains certain suggestions to the government on what are the things that the government should do to revive the demand side of the economy. Second, this report also opens up the core sector like coal, aviation, and various other sectors. But in a COVID situation, there are 3 areas to that. One, the short-term impact, a medium-term impact, and the long-term impact. Does these proposals create a short-term impact or a medium-term impact or a long-term impact? This report analyzes various aspects of these proposals. Finally, what the report also contains is suggestions on certain sector recommendations like textile sector, which is the most critical sector as textile sector creates almost the second largest employment after agricultural sector. So textile sector is important recommended for textile sector, infrastructure. And if you go by the traditional Indian economy, whenever there is a crisis of the economy, always the infrastructure that comes to the handholding the economy, and that helps any additional spend on the infra will always boost the revival of the economy. And that has been a practice. It is not the present day practice. Even one goes to the old days practice of things, and that is what has happened. Up in the infrastructure sector always boosts the revival of the economy. And this report contains what are the suggestions to go for the infrastructure economy proposals. The third important suggestion this report gives about is the fiscal policy and the tax proposals. And rightly or wrong, rightly, as Romal was mentioning in this report, that the incentives, the tax incentives are very critical. This report makes a mention that the government of India and the state governments should move away, which rightfully they are doing it, but it calls for more, that move away from a typical policy initiative to some sort of enabler to make sure that industries get the adequate working capital facility and adequate working capital challenges from the perspective of the tax incentives. So this is what the report contains, but just to considering the paucity of time, I'll make few mentions about the proposals and then I'll close my presentation. The report contains the package, Atmanirbhar package was very focused on MSME. There are significant policy measures announced on MSME, but the MSME sector has got a major three limitations. Number one, the rural credit for the MSMEs is not there in the as per the government RBI report itself. The entire MSMEs banking credit is hardly 20 to 25%. So 60 to 70% of the MSMEs are not adequately serviced by the banking sector. Second, the most important statistics coming from the ministry itself is that the entire rural MSMEs are not served by the banking, and the rural MSMEs are almost 60% of the MSMEs. So with the kind of the limitation that is there, the package of 3 lakh crore, though it is very welcome, but on the implementation side, whether it will really boost the MSME, that's a big issue that we need to talk about it, and this report analyzes the particular aspect of it. Second important aspect, the UK Sinha Committee made an important recommendation on MSMEs that the government won't, Prime Minister's won't WhatsApp the app where the MSMEs can take the loan through the app package. That itself takes a lot of time. The UK Sinha Committee report recommended significant measures on that, and that needs to be implemented. The third important aspect of MSME, which will be very critical for supporting the MSME, is the government has made a very, very great policy decision requesting all public sector companies to pay within certain specific dates, and the government has instructed all the public sector companies to clear the MSME dues immediately. But most of the MSMEs deal with the corporates, and one of the biggest challenges for the growth of the MSME is not able to collect or realize the receivables from the corporate sector. This report contains a suggestion as to how it needs to go about it. So the point that the report talks about is that while certainly the measures announced by the finance minister is welcome, but it needs a little bit more on the implementation side, and that's what the report talks about it. The second important sector that the government talks about is the social sector. While certainly the social sector policies are welcome, but what arises is certain challenges on the social sector, and that is also the report talks about. And finally, the report mentions about certain areas which the government needs to focus on to make sure that the Atmanirbhar Bharat is truly a self-reliant India and truly it is achieved. And this is what the report contains, and definitely I'm sure BCIC will upload the report on the website. It will be available to every one of you. And finally, I should thank BCIC President Devesh Agarwal and Senior Vice President Parasram for publishing this report from BCIC. Thank you so much to everybody. Thanks for patient hearing.
Thank you, Shri K.R. Shekhar, the Senior Vice President of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, for a very insightful session, and congratulations on the report. We move forward to a question and answer session, but before that, once again, I would really like to acknowledge the presence of quite a few esteemed dignitaries that we have with us currently. Mr. K.G. Mohan Kumar, who is the Managing Director of Toyota Kirloskar Auto Parts. We also have with us Mr. Ahmed Ali, Mr. Waliappa, and many other past presidents of BCIC. It's really great to have you all on board on a Friday evening, and it just goes to show what a pillar you all have been, and furthermore, a strong pillar of support to the Chamber of Commerce. We now continue with the question and answer session. This will be moderated and led once again by our Senior Vice President, Shri K.R. Shekhar. Before we move forward, let me quickly take you through the do's and the don'ts. For all those who are driving home from work, for ease of access, I will quickly read out a note. In the question and answer session for 10 minutes, you may raise questions by typing on the chat box only on matters pertaining to government, economy, or industries. no other questions will be entertained, I'm afraid. Request not to type anything negative as the session is being recorded. For all those, once again, who would like to address questions, please log into the chat box. It is very easy to type it there, and from there we will have Shri K.R. Shekhar who will moderate the discussion and pick the questions and address it to the right panelist. Over to you, Shri K.R. Shekhar.
Thank you, Samira. Thanks for that do's and don'ts on the question and answer session. I welcome the questions. I request members to type the questions in the chat box so that I can direct the questions to the right panelist. And if you want to get the answers from any particular person or panelist, please mention it also. So I'd like to open the questions, please. So probably I think nobody's typing the question. So let me start the questions, Samira. I would like to ask the question to Romal. Romal, are you there, Romal?
Yes, Shekhar.
Let me start the question to you, Romal. Thanks, Romal, for doing a fantastic report for BCIC, and thanks so much for your insightful presentation. You have been working globally with multiple companies, global organizations, and with various organizations. In your view, what would be the two biggest areas Government of India as well as Canada should focus for bringing the investments from China to India? Because I see a lot of reports that investments are going to Philippines and Vietnam. So what the Government of India and Government of Canada should do, two things more in my view.
Yeah, so thanks, Shekhar. I think a very valid question. So one of the things is really what I would say is the ease of doing business. So there would be a perception amongst various investors that India takes time, and the ease of doing business it is not the easiest business to do. So if the government can clearly change that, which is really in terms of clearances and all of that, which become very, very fast, I think that is one. And second is clearly, I think, in terms of what kind of incentives and others can they do to bring in big companies which can bring in clusters. So not just supporting a company, but bringing in clusters of industries across. That I think were the two things that I would really say that, and investors are clearly looking at branching out from China.
Thank you, Rama. Thank you. Since I'm not getting a second question, let me pose a second question to Devesh Agarwal. Devesh, are you there, Devesh?
Yes, sir, very much here.
Okay, Devesh, you talked about the airport, and it's really great that, and I know you are passionate on the airport. Sometimes I wonder whether you are running adjacent technology business or you have any business on the airport. Those apart, you are very passionate about the need for the second airport in Bangalore. There's only one sort of opinion that is going around that the Mysore airport is not developed fully, and there is a challenges on Mysore airport traffic itself, which is very closer to Bangalore. So what's your thought on the second airport in Bangalore? From your perspective, where it will be located, and what is your key suggestion to the government on improving the Mysore airport?
Shekhar, with regards to the Mysore airport, the fundamental problem with the Mysore airport is the way the land is structured. It can only have a very small sized runway, which allows for, the small turboprop aircraft like the ATR 72. It cannot even accommodate an A320. So that means the range of the flight or the distance the flight can go, at best from Mysore, you can, go till Hyderabad or maybe till Chennai. Today, the need is not regional travel. You can see the railways is improving, the speed of trains, various other things. So it is becoming a credible alternative to taking flights. And going forward, regional connectivity will move more and more to the surface. Air connectivity will remain in the domain of long distance travel. What we are looking at is that even the Airports Authority of India back in 2018 said by the year 2030, Bangalore Airport will get saturated. Now, they were talking about reviving HAL Airport, and the simple fact is even HAL Airport just cannot keep up. Bangalore has been growing at a compound annual growth rate of 8.33% since at least the last 22 years that I have been tracking the airport for BCIC. So effectively today, the passengers are growing at roughly 3 million passengers plus per year. That is the minimum growth rate. And the HCL airport is not even 6 million passenger capacity. So we have to look at a global level airport. So why we suggested the airport to be located somewhere between Channapatna, Madur, somewhere in that rough area is because it will serve southwestern Bangalore, which includes starting say from Harohalli, Jigni belt, all the way across to Hassan. This is an area of great potential. Please appreciate, it is not just only passengers, floriculture, huge potential. See the amount of fresh vegetables and greenery that is exported by people like Navdharis and First Agro and other, new age farms that are catering to the world food from our state. So these are all areas that will stand to benefit all the way from about Kodagu all the way till, I would say, the Bangalore Hosur Road. In fact, I will not be surprised if we can try and pull in some traffic from Hosur as well to the airport, which is somewhere near the Ramnagaram area, or Channapatna area.
Okay. Thanks, Devesh. I'm coming back to Romal again. That's a very interesting question that has come, Romal, probably, which is also part of our report. The question is that, what steps should food processing industries take to grow during this pandemic situation? Any thoughts from you, Roman?
Yeah, so I think, Shekhar, as we mentioned that I think proximity to where the raw materials are, I think is clearly an indicator. Second is the amount of technology that you would use. When I say technology, means manufacturing technology, as well as the technology in the whole shop floor, for example, which you would use for these industries. Because that quality, I think the importance of that quality would be very critical, both from a domestic market consumption as well as a export market. So I think those are two areas I would say that, there are many steps, but these are two immediate steps.
Okay. Thanks to you, Roman. Parasu, are you there? I just want to ask a question with you, Parasu. Parasu? So
yeah, thanks, Shekhar. Yeah, thanks, Shekhar. I have a question to Mr. Romal Shetty.
I have a question. First, I have a question to you before you ask a question to Romal.
Sure.
You cannot take my role. Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead, boss.
Go ahead.
No, Parasu is already beginning to exercise president's prerogative.
Parasu, though I should congratulate you for becoming a president, I will congratulate myself. That's leaving that congratulation, I said. You and I discussed a vision for the BCS in the next 1 year or two. Can you share a vision for the next year or two to the members, for the benefit of the members and also for the benefit of the officials who are there? What's the vision that you are likely to pursue for the next 1 year or 2 years, Parasu?
Thanks, Shekhar. In fact, the biggest priority, since we framed the theme for this year, I think Gateway to Future India, Namma Karnataka. I think this is a fantastic theme, aligning with the government initiatives to be on the top of manufacturing competitiveness. I think also Mr. Romal Shetty also touched upon several factors what I had in mind. I think the biggest theme would be to ease of doing business. I think how do you simplify the procedures? Of course, today, thanks to the government, I think what is a 3-year framework, now it's being talked about in 30 days, this breakthrough move, while we can take the approvals on a parallel basis. And the land banks is another major thing. I think 2 major hurdles have been addressed by the government, but nevertheless, I could see a lot of complicated procedures across the pipeline, be it the KIDB or be it the control board or be it the factories. So I think one of the biggest challenges would be to simplify this kind of procedures together with the government of Karnataka and make it more easier to follow and reduce the lead time. I think this would be a very biggest factor I'm thinking of. Of course, I'm also looking at maximizing the value for all our stakeholders, mainly our member companies. I think, again, gauging the value, what we are giving and what they're expecting, and how do you fill that kind of a gap through the kind of expertise available at Bangalore chambers today. I think, again, voice of members, how we represent in the government, and how do we mutually grow together. I think I'll be focusing on these three areas, which I think we have a common agenda for the next 2-3 years.
Very good.
I'm sure we can take it together.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor. Now over to you. You can ask a question to Rama. This may be the last question for this session, and after that, I'll hand it over to Samira. You can take it.
Sorry, Mr. Romal Shetty, thank you so much for a very, very impressive presentation on Invest Karnataka and the potential available. I think my question to you is regarding the energy portion you touched upon. Still, we are costlier on the energy front compared to the other states. While the minister was talking about putting up solar parks, 2,000 megawatts, and we have around 24,000 megawatts on the anvil. So what specific measures regarding the renewable energy would you think of to make Karnataka energy competitive?
So, thank you, Mr. Parsuram. Thank you. So I think one of the key focus areas is in terms of especially solar and wind. What kind of new technologies will Karnataka sort of put in incentives to ensure that people can come in and invest in India, specifically in these alternate sources, alternate energy sources? And also, how do you make our own discoms more efficient? I think that clearly there are losses, transmission losses, there are distribution losses. How do you make them much more efficient? So based on a combination of making our own institutions much stronger, including promoting where companies themselves are generating power to be used elsewhere, so encouraging that, as well as bringing in alternate sources of energy and having incentives, would probably be the right way for Karnataka to be more cost competitive than it is today.
Thanks, Mr. Romal Shetty. I think I'm looking at probably vis-a-vis a benchmarking state where we could have a lot of reflections and learnings. Probably what is the gap between our state and that particular state. I think you talked about the transmission and distribution losses. Definitely, I understand Karnataka is one of the biggest. I think it's quite a high percentage, more than 20%, I'm told. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vasant.
Okay, thanks, Raman. Thanks, Parasu. Thanks, Devesh, for taking this question. Before I hand it back to Samira, I really should thank Ravindra, Samira, and the whole team who has worked day and night, Prithvi, Rupa, and the entire secretariat team for doing tremendous work to make sure that this meeting through technology is successful. Really, I thank on behalf of both Parasu and Devesh and on behalf of the entire BCIC team, I thank them for taking this tremendous efforts to make sure this is successful. Thank you. Over to you, Samira.
Shri Shekhar, the Senior Vice President of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, a big round of thanks and applause for going through and taking us through a wonderful session. The question and answer session was really insightful, and it also talks about future perspectives in the business world. Thank you for also welcoming all the viewers and giving them an equal platform by engaging with the panelists in taking the discussion forward. It was a great opportunity and extremely well conducted. May I now request our incoming president, Shri T.R. Parsuraman, to kindly deliver the concluding remarks and the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Samira. Sorry that, first of all, my sincere apologies that we are delayed and we got out of time. But nevertheless, as Samira said, it has been a wonderful AGM in spite of COVID challenge. And first of all, my sincere thanks to the Honorable Minister, Sri Jagadish Shetty. In fact, I just called him and thanked him. He was also so very happy I think today's message was so emphatic, and he touched upon the new industrial policy focusing on growth and also the new investments and increasing the manufacturing competitiveness through development of infrastructure and ease of doing business. I think we are very, very grateful to you, sir. In fact, the minister had to leave because of an urgent engagement. But we convey our heartfelt thanks to the Honorable Minister, who has been a friend, philosopher, and guide, to put it short. And he has been championing the growth of industries in a very big way. And no words to thank him. Thank you so much, sir. And today we heard from Mr. Vikram Kirloskar, an icon of Indian industry. I think manufacturing competitiveness today, there is no other person other than Mr. Vikram Kirloskar. And we're very, very blessed today to hear from him. And his message is today outstanding, I would say, because in a short time, he was able to cover the complete mega picture of manufacturing competitiveness from an Indian point of view, from a global point of view. And he also talked about the economies of scale of China and India and what we should do to reach such levels. And he touched upon the supply chain and our empathy for people suffering from COVID. He started with that. I think it was all mind-boggling for all of us. In fact, I got several messages also about both the addresses. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. And you have been so kindly to accept our invitation graciously and share your valuable message. We are also very, very grateful to Sri Gaurav Gupta, who has been our friend again in all our difficulties. In fact, I know the kind of challenges the Principal Secretary is undergoing. I never seen him going home. In fact, I'm told still he is in the meetings. But nevertheless, he used to attend to our calls immediately. And the kind of support he has given to the industry is mind-boggling. And I look forward to his continued support. Especially he talked about the new manufacturing policy, which is very unique. He talked about based on the turnover, the incentives will be given for the first time. I think this is a very, very big welcome move. And the land bank proposal and reform coming to the government of Karnataka, brought by Karnataka, is outstanding, because this is one of the challenges we face in building up new facilities, and also the 30-day approval period against the 3-year currently existing for all the approvals is outstanding. And I'm sure that our team, Namma Karnataka, the future gateway of India, would align well with their thinking. And I look forward to working with Sri Gaurav Gupta and team. And I also would like to place my sincere thanks to Sri Romal Shetty, President Consulting Deloitte, who gave us a beautiful picture of what is required to do ease of business in Karnataka. He talked about several factors: land reforms, industrial townships, reduction of power cost, ease of doing business, skilling, how to get the right incentives, cluster program built to the China model, and also seamless connectivity. I think he touched upon several important factors, and I'm sure Bangalore Chambers can definitely take these proposals, work hand in hand with Government of Karnataka. And I heartfully thank Deloitte, again, Mr. Romal Shetty, and also Shekhar for getting this job done wonderfully in a very, very short time. And I'm sure this could be an eye-opener for national scene as well, because this can be horizontally deployed to the other states as well. And I also congratulate Sri Devesh Agarwal for the wonderful, wonderful leadership he has shown. In fact, he raised Bangalore Chambers like how we raised the motorbike, somebody said today. So I think his passion for creativity, innovation, and we can see him as a walking encyclopedia. Today we could see from his presentation on aerospace, aviation. I don't know how many skills he has on food. He's a connoisseur of great food, wines. aerospace, blogs, and Rotary Club. I think I always call him a walking encyclopedia. And he has set a very, very tall target for us to catch up. I'm sure me and Shekhar will have a tough time. But nevertheless, I'm very confident. We have a fantastic team. I'm ably supported by Shekhar, my good friend. And the coming Vice President will be elected shortly. And our executive team is also fantastic. I'm sure through BCIC team and also the support of past presidents who have been of invaluable support to us from time to time, we can definitely live up to the expectations. Then I also would like to place it on cards my heartfelt thanks to the past presidents who have been always standing like a pillar. In fact, even today, our past president, C.R. Rajagopalan, I think he's 85 plus, he used to attend all the meetings. And his energy level is something outstanding, which we can't even think of. And he's so passionate to attend all the government meetings. In fact, we told him, please, we will take care, even in this time. I think that is his passion. And similarly, Mr. Ahmed Ali, you name any past president, Mr. Venkat Kedilya, I think Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, I think Mr. Shekhar Vishwanath has been a kind of a pillar to us. He has been silently giving us so many ideas. In fact, today also his august presence literally motivates us. He is also the past president of CII. So we are fully honored and privileged, sir, with your august presence. And we have Mr. Gopal Hosur. In fact, he is also there. He is also a brilliant person, and his energy levels in all the meetings and his support to Bangalore Chambers is outstanding. Thank you, sir. And Secretariat has done a commendable job, Shekhar said. In fact, they are sleepless nights. In fact, day yesterday, I was just calling Prithvi at 2:30 in the night because I did not get sleep for something else. And Prithvi was replying to my mail. And I was shocked, and 3 o'clock he sent me a message. I think hats off to the entire team, Prithvi, Rupa, Nandita, Shyam Prasad, Momita, I think all Vijaya. I think if I missed some names, please forgive me. And I think from the back end, I think Dr. Ravindran, I called him as Dhoni of today's event, along with Samira Fernandez, who stole the show today. I think fantastic comparing Samira. In fact, we would not have got a professional, comparing like what you did today. In fact, me and Devesh were discussing whether we should outsource this activity given the current crisis. But I think you outlived that task, and literally hats off to you. I think a lot of learnings for us too, in spite of the current challenges that we had in IT systems. Fantastic job done by the backend department. My special thanks to Parameshwaran Balakrishnan, my own corporate director, Mr. Rakesh. I think they also worked behind the scenes in creating several presentations and a lot of gimmicks in the PowerPoints. Thanks, Param-san, and thanks, Rakesh-san, for all your support. And then all the viewers, I think today our event is also watched across the nation, across the globe. Several people are watching. Thank you, viewers, for giving us this tremendous support. And also thank Mr. Keiji Bogen, Mr. Oshimitsu Hayashi, I think for all your special support to us as always. Finally, also I would like to sincerely thank the Chief Secretary, Shri Vidya Bhaskar, who has been of tremendous support to us whenever we met him, and Mr. Additional Chief Secretary, Mr. Ravi Kumar, Additional Chief Secretary, IS and Prasad, Additional Chief Secretary, Mr. Javed Akhtar, then Mr. Gaurav Gupta has been our friend, philosopher, and guide. I think I cannot describe his support. Then Mr. Mageshwar Rao, again, a very good friend of Bangalore Chambers. In fact, he participates in all our events. Today, because of his compelling situations, he could not participate. I think he has also conveyed a special message and appreciation. Then Mrs. Gunjan Krishna, Commissioner of Industries and Commerce. In fact, she also conveyed her, inability to participate today, but her heart was here. And I have to thank her from Bangalore Chambers because she has been of tremendous support and help to Chambers. In fact, she has agreed to work hand in hand with the Chambers to simplify the procedures and promote ease of doing business in Karnataka. And Mr. Sivashankar, Dr. Sivashankar, again, he is a champion of land. I think he is the managing director of KDB. He is also working very hard to simplify the procedures. He has assured me that he is going to work closely with the chambers and take all the proposals forward. And also I thank my friends from print and media and all the supporting staff. In fact, RV College, Dr. Subramanya, I have no words to thank him. Last 2 days, he has put his entire team and they are running helter-skelter. And in fact, I had my own reservations initially about this WebEx, but today I think it proved to be a good platform. I have to congratulate Dr. Subramanya in making this a big success. And thank you so much, one and all, once again. And Shekhar, a fantastic presentation today on Atmanirbhar report, because this is an amazing report. I told Shekhar after reading the report, you have put it in APPL Apple format. Any layman can understand this report. I think he has beautifully analyzed in simple terms from a macro picture. Then what is the lacunae and what is the step to go forward. In fact, we are going to present this report to the finance minister. We have already sent this to Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, and she is very eager to read this report. We are also sending this report to the Prime Minister's office. Mr. Narendra Modi is also eagerly looking forward to this report, and we will take it forward. And once again, and thanks, Devesh. As ever, you are always a walking encyclopedia. I think I'm sure our viewers will be having a lot of questions on this report. And our minister has already assured that he is going to thoroughly go through that report. In fact, just now he called me. He said, I'm going to go through all the reports. Please send me the hard copy. So I think definitely there is a lot of visualization going to come. And I assure that from Bangalore Chambers, we will take it forward, working hand in hand with all the stakeholders. Once again, thank you so much. I look forward to working with you all. Thank you, chairpersons. Thank you, mentors. Thank you, entire BCIC. Once again, thank you, Samira, for a wonderful job today. Thank you all. God bless.
Yes. Congratulations, Mr. T.R. Parasuraman, the incoming president of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, for having shown your leadership through the years together at BCIC. And we're really excited to have you on board as the incoming president to lead and take the chamber forward, along with two very strong pillars of support, Mr. Devesh Agarwal and Mr. K.R. Shekhar, very ably led. Moving forward, as is customary, we will now request all our viewers to join us in singing along the national anthem.
भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना उच्छल जलधि तरंग तव शुभ नाम जाने तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय
National anthem, and thank you for being a part of it. A special thanks to M.N. Vidya Shankar, IAS, the ex-additional Chief Secretary of Karnataka, who is also part of today's initiative. Pardon me if I have missed out on any prominent names amongst you who were here. On behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, our sincerest thanks to all of you for your support in being an integral part of this program. We thank our dignitaries, sponsors, the past presidents, our committee members, the expert committees, the corporates, the media, and most importantly, you all, the viewers and our treasured members, for being a part of today's annual general meeting. Hope you had an insightful and an enjoyable evening together with the office bearers and the team at the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. This is, on behalf of the BCIC, this is Samira Fernandez, your host for today, signing off. Good night and God bless.
And Samira, I also acknowledge the august presence of Gopal Hosur, the former Director General of Police. I think he has been a tremendous support too.
We are really thrilled, as mentioned earlier, that you are with us today. And thank you once again for all your support to the Chamber. You know, you always supported us personally and professionally, and keep up the great work that you're doing and help, continue being an inspiration to all of us. Once again, on behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce, we wish Mr. T.R. Parasuraman, the incoming president, congratulations. We are so excited. Thank you, Mr. Devesh Agarwal. Thank you, Mr. K.R. Shekhar, for always being inspiring. Thank you once again. Good night and God bless.